1 in 5 teens struggle with depression. 1 in 6 Americans are on antidepressants, with more focus needed on mental health. We talked to an expert about a new concept, Wild World, Joyful Heart, and how this can help you or someone you love, especially this busy time of year.
Mental illness can be hard to spot in a loved one.
This week is Mental Health Awareness Week. So to help us dive into this very sensitive topic is author Laurie Warren. She's here to give us some tips on how to manage stress, especially going into the holidays. Many of us know someone or struggle with this ourselves. So I want to ask you, before we dive into a little quiz that you're going to help us with, does it just seem like more and more people are dealing with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, or are we just becoming more aware of it and there isn't as much of a stigma attached anymore? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, I think it is. I think our levels of stress and anxiety has increased, and statistics show just through suicide rates and depression that they are increasing. But I also think the good news is that we're starting to talk about mental health like we would say, I have a broken arm and have to go to the doctor. Before you didn't do that because nobody, you know, mental health meant you had to be locked up somewhere. Right. So there's a big stigma around it. So I love that it's getting some airtime now. It's so important.
Yeah, and thanks for coming so we can talk about it on air. So you're going to put us through a little quiz, right? And you just mentioned stress and anxiety. I know the first question has to do with that. What's the first question of the quiz?
Can we put it up?
Put it up on the screen.
Oh, it's true or false?
Okay, true or false. Are stress and anxiety the same thing? Okay.
Stress and anxiety the same.
I'm going to say
false. Oh my gosh. Sounds like a trick question.
Bing, bing, bing. Java.
False.
It's false.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference between stress and anxiety?
So stress, we know what stress is. Like, oh, there's a traffic jam, I got a big thing dumped on me at work, my kid's getting bullied at school. Like, those are stressors. Anxiety is when that just becomes your set point. It's typically when you're feeling that all the time for 6 months or more. And it's really how you interact with the world. You're anxious. Everything causes fear for you. It's a very scary place to live.
You should treat those in different
ways. Yes,
Yeah.
that, you know, a mental health professional should be looked into for that.
Okay, so that's a good way to tap into it. If this continues, it's ongoing. Which emotion, here's our next one, which emotion can lead to, oh, I'm sorry, it's incorrect. Can we get to the second one? Which emotion can lead to depression?
I think it's anxiety is it's a harmful emotion.
Is anxiety a harmful emotion?
Yeah.
Is anxiety a harmful emotion?
Well, say true after what you just said.
Yes. But some people don't think of it that way. They think, oh, you're just a little anxious. So when we're talking about, what we're talking about today, anxiety disorder, is what we just discussed. Long-term, doesn't go away, cripples you. People think of anxiety as like, oh, I'm a little anxious before I get on TV, or I'm a little anxious before I ride the school bus. It's not the same thing. That's a little different.
How can it affect your health overall?
There are, I mean, depression, you're pumping hormones through your body that actually break down your body. It affects your mental functioning, it affects your heart, it affects your lungs, everything. Because there's hormones that are pumping through your body all the time that are only supposed to happen infrequently.
Okay.
Next question, is it what can we do to combat stress? Is that correct, Jackie? Our producer's kind of guiding us in our ear.
Drinking water.
Drinking water combats stress.
Does drinking water combat stress?
Drinking water seems to help everything, so I'm going to go with true. I hope it's true.
Bing, 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 Kendall.
It is true. Gosh, we all just need to drink more water.
So here's the thing. What a lot of people don't understand is that how we treat our physical body affects our mental functioning.
I had never heard that.
So drinking water, eating healthy food, getting 7.5 hours or more of sleep a night, exercising, all these things help us better manage stress and anxiety.
What you put into your body, food-wise, really has a lot more to do with it than we realize.
Your brain is part of your body.
Interesting. All right. Too much stress can lead to depression. True or false?
I'm going to say true.
It's got to.
Absolutely. So when people, not just, you know, stress like me leaving and trying to get to the airport on time.
Right.
Right? Not that, but when you have prolonged stress that eventually leads to anxiety, this can become something that triggers depression.
So stress can trigger anxiety, anxiety can trigger depression.
And they
it's
can,
just
yeah,
like a snowball
yeah,
effect.
exactly. They can lead into one another. So we really have to keep a tab, especially on our kids. You know, keep tabs on their emotions and how they're feeling, and make sure that we're understanding what they're really grappling with.
I feel like all of these issues are something that you cannot see. You talk about, you hear that a lot. How do we identify if someone close to us is going through this when sometimes it's invisible?
Personality change. That's the easiest way. I mean, we could have a very long discussion about that. But the easiest way is when you know somebody and now they're different. There's something different about them. They're, you know, kind of the Eeyore syndrome, like they're just not their usual self. They're kind of like wet blanket. That's when you should start to really pay attention.
Okay, I think this is our last question.
Okay.
65 plus, in that age range, depression rates are rising. Is that true or false?
I want to say false.
Yeah, I'm in the middle.
This is
say
fun.
false.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's actually, sadly, the youth.
The youth.
Really?
Yeah. So depression rates in our youth have increased 60%, and suicide rates have increased 70%.
Why is that?
But you would say taking the phones away at school would help with
Taking the phones away, and also cultural and parental pressure on our kids to be perfect and amazing.
Oh, God, that's
Yep.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So we really need to pay attention. I know
Yes.
this is a much bigger conversation.
It's a
We
huge
could talk about this
conversation.
the whole show.
Yeah.
But this is going to help. I
Yeah,
hope,
for
a lot of
sure.
people out there. You can find Laurie's new book, Wild World, Joyful Heart, on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. You can learn more about it by going to her website, too, Laurie Warren, that's with 2 R's.com.